I'm now standing at this tram station in the northeast of Prague, and there's a mural on this wall. It tells the story of two young Czechoslovakian resistance fighters who were trained in the UK and parachuted into Czechoslovakia, which it was known as then, during the Second World War, and they had a job to do. Their job was the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich, who was the German ruler of the Moravian and Bohemian areas of Czechoslovakia. Heydrich was regarded as one of the darkest figures in the Nazi regime. Even Adolf Hitler called him the man with the iron heart. He was head of the security service in charge of seeking out and neutralising the resistance to the Nazi Party via arrests, deportation and murders. He was directly responsible for the special task force that travelled in the wake of German armies and murdered more than 2 million people by mass shootings and gassings. Upon his arrival in Prague, he sought to eliminate opposition to Nazi occupation by suppressing Czech culture, deportation and executing members of the Czech resistance. On the morning of the 27th of May 1942, Heydrich was on his way to Prague Castle when he was attacked by Mr. Gabčík and Mr. Kubis. Mr. Kubis hit Heydrich's car with an anti-tank grenade, wounding both Heydrich and his driver. Heydrich was badly wounded. Operation Anthropoid was a success. Heydrich was taken to this hospital, which is very close by, and he was recovering. But on the 4th of June, he died of septicemia. This was caused by horsehair from car upholstery and clothing that entered his body during the explosion of the grenade. His remains were taken back to Berlin to be buried. After the assassination attempt on Heydrich's life, a state of emergency was declared in the city of Prague and a curfew was introduced. Anyone who helped the attackers would be executed, along with all members of their families. In the following 8 days, 157 people were executed, but they still couldn't find the attackers. Heydrich was buried in Berlin on the 9th of June, and then the decision was also made to make up for his death by Adolf Hitler himself. Any village found to be helping Heydrich's killers, the following would happen. 1. Execute all men. 2. Transport all women to a concentration camp. 3. Suitable children were to be Germanized, and the other children would be sent to a concentration camp where they would receive no health support. 4. Burn down the village and level it completely. One of the villages that were going to pay the price of this was the village of Lidice, which was suspected of harbouring Heydrich's killers. On the morning of the 10th of June, German soldiers surrounded the small village of Lidice. All males over the age of 15 were taken here to Horrick's farm. They were brought out 10 at a time and they were shot by the German firing squad. This is the final resting place of the 173 men that were executed on the 10th of June 1942. We will never forget the fate of the 60 Lidice women who died between the years of 1942 and 1945. Their tragic deaths occurred in front of Nazi German firing squads in Prague, Kobylisi, and on death marches. The remainder perished in concentration camps in Lublin, Auschwitz and Ravensbrück. This is a statue of the crying woman who never shows her tears. This is the remains of St. Martin's Church, which stood proudly over the small village of Lidice. You can also see the Gothic foundations are still here. This is all that remains of the school that was built in the year 1713. This is the site of the cemetery. When the Germans came here, they dug up all the graves and looted for jewellery, and they even stole the gold fillings. After this, they destroyed all of the corpses. This is the memorial that stands today to remember those 82 children who were taken away from their homes and families by the Nazis on the 10th of June 1942. This stone represents the first house in the original Lidice village. And if you look now, nothing, absolutely nothing. It was totally destroyed. After all the women and children were taken away to concentration camps and all the men were massacred, the Germans then destroyed every building in this little village. They also destroyed all the roads, they rerouted the stream, and they also put topsoil all over this village. They did this so that the village would be unrecognizable. Mr. Kubis and Mr. Gabchik were located here on the 18th of June at the Church of St. Cyril and St. Methodist in Prague. A bloody battle which lasted 6 hours seriously wounded Mr. Kubis. He also tried to poison himself, but he fell unconscious before doing so. He was rushed to hospital where doctors tried to save his life but failed. But Mr. Kubis refused to surrender. Mr. Gobchek and his allies also refused to surrender. They also poisoned themselves rather than hand themselves in to the Germans. This is a small memorial outside the church. The Germans recorded this destruction of Lidice and proudly announced the events. Upon hearing this, an Englishman named Boris Strauss founded the organisation Lidice Shall Live. Some countries supported this organisation. For example, Yeremino Lidice is a place in Mexico City. Lidice is an area in the Camira district in Panama. Stern Park in Illinois, USA was renamed to Lidice. There is also a small square in Coventry that is now named Lidice. There is a street in Sofia, Bulgaria that is named Lidice. There is also a memorial that was built in Wisconsin to remember the people who died in Lidice. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe. If you would like to support my channel, I will put a link in the description to buy me a coffee. I will also put a link in the description for a book that I have recently published, My World on a Shoestring Budget. The book is about my travels abroad over the last 20 years. Thank you guys.